Feels really good in the shade. But that sunshine's intense when I get out there. Look at how much this is overgrown. This is crazy. That's my 4x8 fall garden. 4x8 raised bed. Anyway, got a lot of tomatoes, or well, not a lot of tomatoes yet, but a lot of little flowers and stuff. I showed you that on my previous video, but right there I've got probably cantaloupe or some other melon. It's not watermelon, but it's growing. And then these are mostly tomato plants there. Anyway, I've been lazy, not wanting to get out in the heat and the humidity and the mosquitoes and all the other bugs. But you know what? I don't know. This really isn't a video about my gardens or my lack of gardens. This is a video about Max. Max the cat. On what day was it? July the 1st, I believe. I went out on the back deck with some cat food. Max wasn't back there, so I figured, okay, Max must be on the front porch, because we got our little routine, you know, where Max, you know, is either around the back door or around the front door. And you know, I'll take him some food and some water and pet him on the head, and he'll talk to me and I'll talk to him. Anyway, on July the 1st, all day long, you know, he wasn't at the front door, wasn't at the back door. I looked all around. I came outside, I searched for him, I called him, yelled out his name. Couldn't find him anywhere. That over there really needs knocked down too. It's amazing how fast these weeds grow. But I came out and I remembered I had been down in the cellar. So I went down in the cellar and I looked around for him. Couldn't find him anywhere. He's not in the cellar, not in the yard, not around. I figured, well, I did go in the shed, you know, a few days back. You know, let me double check just to make sure he's not in the shed. And I go searching the shed, he's not out there. I'll look all around, I'll search the yard, I'll go everywhere. I'm calling his name. Don't find Max anywhere. Well, on July the 2nd, I come outside and I do the same thing. I figure, well, you know, cats are cats. They meander around, they go wandering. They, you know, they get out and prowl once in a while. Max didn't do a whole lot of that because Max had been fixed early on, so he didn't have the desire to get out, you know, and go hunting for a mate or anything like that. So Max was, you know, a homebody, pretty much like just hanging out around the house. Once in a while would get out and meander around, but never really went very far. Never really went, you know, like other cats do. Max was scared of the road, hardly ever went near that road. And I knew that Max wasn't going to be going out the road. But I went out there and I walked up and down the road and I looked just to make sure. Didn't find Max out there. I went, I looked under the vehicles, I did all kinds of stuff. Didn't find Max anywhere. Well, my wife and I, we decided we're going to get in the car and we're going to go do something. And we go. We get in the car and the car is facing towards the back, towards the shed. So, I drive up the driveway, and I'm going slow. I'm keeping an eye out for Max, looking around. Just out of habit. Just to be thinking, maybe I'll see him. Well, my wife says, she's got her window down on the car, and I've got my window down because the car had been hot, right? And my wife says, "Hey, there's Max right there." And we look over, and I'll show you where we found Max. Go up here. Anyway, right up here, next to the gold Honda up here. And keep in mind, I've mowed this yard since then. The grass was just a little bit taller right here, but Max was right here. Max was sitting right here where my shadow is. And I figured, okay, Max must have been up under here, under this car. Well, this car hadn't moved in a long time because it's got some major problems I need to work on. But I figured Max was hiding up under this car. But when we found Max sitting right here, Max just was not right. Max could barely move, couldn't operate his legs, couldn't function properly. But anyway, we got a blanket, or not a blanket, but a towel. We got a towel, and I wrapped him up in the towel. And we took him in the house and put him in a laundry basket, and tried to give him a little bit of water. So I figured maybe the cat had been, sitting around without water or something. But, we thought, well, maybe Max had been hit by a car. But Max wasn't acting like he'd been hit by a car. And Max hardly ever went near the road. It was in the evening. The veterinarians were not opened. Anyway, I was sitting with Max, and tried to give Max a little bit of water. Max couldn't operate his mouth properly, couldn't operate his tongue properly. I could tell that his ears weren't working because he could hear us. His little ears would move, like a cat's ears normally move, because of, hearing a sound or something. Max would look at us, and once in a while, Max would try to verbalize how he was feeling, what was going on with him. But, just wasn't right. It was like he couldn't meow properly. Instead of being a meow or a sound that we're normally used to, it was more of a holler. It was more like he was hollering. It was more like a oh. It's a really sad. Max was just really messed up. Now, I told my wife, I said, it really seems like it really seemed like either a stroke, like maybe the cat had a stroke, or had been poisoned, or something like that. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I had checked Max, there was no blood, there were no puncture wounds, there was no sign that another animal had been at it, like a predator or anything. Because generally, we have coyotes around, but coyotes, they're like dogs. When they grab something, they grab it usually, at the back neck or the hips or something like that with their teeth, right? Which means they would leave puncture marks or leave, like signs of like uh, ripping out fur or something like that. Well, Max didn't show any of that. There was nothing like that on Max. So anyway, we sat there with Max, and we worked, you know, to try to get Max to drink some water. Max would react to the water, but he couldn't operate his mouth and his tongue properly. Couldn't operate it correctly. It was just weird, crazy weird. And I held a piece of lunch meat up to his nose, and there was no reaction to that. It was like there was absolutely no response, like the cat didn't even know that I had put that little piece of lunch meat in front of its face, and even touched it to its nose, tried to stick it to its tongue. No reaction whatsoever. Really weird. I told my wife, I said, it really seems like Max was poisoned. Or, because Max was up in age, maybe Max had a stroke, some kind of brain damage. I felt of his head. There was no, as far as I could tell, there was no, it wasn't like he had some kind of trauma to his head or anything. But sadly, Max did not survive that. Max passed away on July the 2nd. Max the cat. And I was very, very saddened. It was not easy. Max was my friend. Anyway, I brought Max back here, and right here is where I buried Max. Max the cat. This is Max's resting spot out here in his backyard.